Welcome to another video. In today's video, we will be going through the Grade 8 Paper 1 of November 2023, set by the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape. Question 1 is a multiple choice question. The first question reads as follows. Which option shows the correct descending order of the given decimal numbers? Firstly, we need to know what descending means. Descending means from biggest to smallest. Let's have a look at A. A reads as follows. 3,305. Then it goes to 3,033, and then it goes to 33,5. Immediately, that jump is going from 3, to 33, so that means that A is already increasing. So that is out. Let's have a look at B. We have 33,5. Then we have 30,503, which is descending, but let's keep going. Then from 30,503, we go to 3,305, and then we go to 3,033. Okay, that is descending order. B so far is the correct answer, but let's go to C just to double check. It goes from 30,503 to 3,305, which is decreasing, and then it goes to 3,033, which is decreasing, but then it goes from 3,033 to 33,5. That leaves us with the only possible option of B being the correct answer. Question 1.2. It reads, identify the prime number. If one of these numbers can be divided by any other number besides itself and 1. For example, let us start at C. C, 65 can be divided by 5. You will get an answer. 36 can be divided by 2. You can get an answer there. And 71 cannot be divided by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. So you can check that on your calculator and see that those three numbers, only one of them cannot be divided by any other number besides itself and 1. 1.3. The equivalent fraction of 6 over 100 is 6 over 10. Again, that is not equivalent. They are not equal. Equal and equivalent means the same thing. So A is out. B, 4 over 20. That is also incorrect. And then you have C, which reads 3 over 50. So how do we know that's correct? If you look at 6 over 100, and if you simplify that and you divide both by 2, you have 3 over 50, which is the same thing. Okay, which means they are equal, and therefore this answer is C. 1.4. The value of minus 7 squared plus minus 2 cubed plus the square root of 81. Let us quickly do that. Okay, so we have minus 7 squared. Note that the squared is not in brackets, so outside brackets, plus minus 2. Note that that is in brackets, and plus the square root of 81. Now, that squared only applies to the 7 and not the negative. Okay, so that would mean that this is minus 49, because 7 squared means 7 times 7, which is 49, plus, now that negative and the 2 is inside brackets to the power of 3. That means we're going to say minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. Minus 2 times minus 2 gives me positive 4 times minus 2 gives me negative 8. Okay, and a plus and a minus there gives us just a minus. And the square root of 81, it's simply 9. Okay, then we have minus 49 minus 8. Okay, so that would be minus 49 minus 8 would be minus 57. We still need to add the 9 there, and that would give us minus 57 plus 9, which would be minus 48. And that answer for 1.4 would be C. You could have also just simply put that into your calculator and have gotten the correct answer, but it's good to be able to work through that as well. 1.5. 1.5 reads as follows. It's in brackets 5x to the power of 3, close brackets 2. That's squared outside the brackets, goes to the number and the variable. That square would mean that the 5 is also squared, which gives us 25, and that 3 is a square. So when we have two squares, we multiply. So that would be x to the power of 6. And that would be B. 1.6. The question asks which one of the following options is the correct simplification of 2x to the power of 0. Again, that 0 only applies to the x, and when anything has the power of 0, right, remember this is 2 times x. Okay, and x to the power of 0 is simply 1. So 2 times 1 is simply 2. That would mean our answer would be A. 1.7. 2,67 times 10 to the power of 7 is the scientific notation for which value? Okay, first we're going to have 2,67, and we know it's times 10 to the power of 7. So what we're going to do, if it's a positive exponent for scientific notation, we're going to move this decimal the amount of times or the value of the exponent. So we're going to move this decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to add a 0 in each of these gaps here, and the comma goes there, right? And that answer would be A. Answer there, 1.7 is A. 1.8. Given the geometric pattern below, how many circles would be in the fourth diagram? In diagram 1, we have 4 circles. In diagram 2, we have 6 circles. And in diagram 3, we have 8 circles. We can already see that it is a pattern of plus 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. That would mean the fourth diagram would simply be 10. And for 1.8, that would be B. 1.9. A school has 200 grade 8 learners. There are 80 boys and 120 girls. Choose the simplified ratio of boys is to girls. You can write that right there. 80 and 2, 120. Okay. First of all, we can also rewrite this as 80 divided by 120, and we can simplify this to have a different ratios over there. And when you simplify this over here, you can simply divide both sides by 10 and you'll get 8 over 12, which you can also write as 8 is to 12. Their answer for 1.9 would be A. 1.10. Which algebraic expression represents 9 less than half a number? Okay, the moment half a number, if we say half a number, we don't know the number. Half of that number we don't know. And it says 9 less than this. So then the minus 9 comes at the end there, and that answer would be B. Okay, moving on to question 2, dealing with the topic numbers. Okay, the question reads as follows: study the following numbers and write them next to the correct description. Okay, we have 2, 4, minus 5, 2 over 3, 7, 24, and 1 over 4. Let us look at the first one. The prime factors of 14. That just means which of these numbers can divide 14. Okay, right. Let's have a look at 2. Can 2 divide into minus 14? Yes, it can. Therefore, 2 is a prime. A factor of 14. Can 4 divide into 14? No. Can minus 5 divide into 14? No. That's a fraction. Immediately it's out. Can 7 divide into 14? Yes, it can. Can 24 divide into 14? No, it's bigger than 14, and that's a fraction as well. So we only have these two numbers that are prime factors of 14. Okay. Then we have lowest common multiple of 8 and 3. Okay, so how do we do this? 8, okay, and then 16, 24, okay, and then 3, 6, 9, 12. We can keep going on the side. 15, 18, 21, 24. Immediately we have matching. We just did the multiples, and we can see that the LCM of 8 and 3 would be 24. Okay. Then moving on to square of a half. What does that mean? We're going to take a half, brackets, and we're going to square it. When we have a square root outside of a bracket, we know that it's going to go to each and every number and term inside the bracket. So then we're going to have 1 squared over 2 squared. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. Therefore, we can see that from this list, it is 1 over 4. So a square over half would equal to 1 over 4. Moving on to 2.2. Use the inequality signs, smaller than or bigger than. That's what those signs mean over there. And fill in the blank spaces to compare these numbers. Okay. When we have two negative values, the bigger the negative value, the more you are in debt, meaning that number is actually smaller. Okay, it's a bit tricky to understand, but this is the bigger number. As you get closer to 0 from the negative side, okay, so this would mean that this number is bigger than this number. This is a bigger negative value, which means you owe more. So that is bigger than that. Here we have 136,000 and 137,000. So we know we don't even have to read further than that. We know that this is a smaller value. So we'll have our arrow pointed like that. Then we have 1,860 and 1,9. Immediately you look at the second one. If the first one dies, and this is 1,8, this is 1,9, this is smaller. We have the arrow pointing to the smaller value. In question 3, we have word sums, and in 3.1, it asks us, Jeffrey scored 54 out of 70 in his mathematics test. Calculate the percentage. Round your answer off to 2 decimal places. Okay, when we want to convert anything to percentage, we're going to take Jeffrey's score. His score was 54, okay? And it's 54 out of, so we're going to divide that by 70, okay? So we're going to take your score or Jeffrey's score over the total, okay? And then you always multiply that by 100, and that would give you 77.14%. In question 3.2, it reads as follows. A bus traveling to Cape Town has an average speed of 90 kilometers per hour. The distance from Hermanus to Cape Town is 120 kilometers. Determine the time the bus traveled to reach its destination. Okay, and you may use the formula distance is equal to speed multiplied by time. Okay, so what was the distance traveled? The distance traveled was 120 kilometers, and it's equal to the speed was 90 kilometers per hour, and you multiply that by time. And the step is quite easy for us to know the time. You're going to take this 90 away and do the inverse. That is just like solving a formula. This is now, instead of x, it's time. So you're going to divide by 90 on both sides. And then you're going to have, I'll just swap that around. Time is equal to 1,33 hours. Okay. Question 4, number patterns. If we look at the number pattern there, we have term 1, there's 2 dots. Okay, term 2, there is 2, 4, 6, 8 dots. And in term 3, there's 14 dots. And in term 4, there's 20 dots. If we look at the table there, it wants us to fill in 4.1.1. The number of dots for 8, we can see that that is 2. So the term is 2, or the second term that has 8 dots. That's what we fill in over there. Then the 5th term, we don't know. But if you look at the number of dots, it goes from 2 to 8, which is plus 6. And it goes from 8 to 14, which you again add 6. And to get to the next term, from 14 to 20, you add 6 again. So to go from 20, or to go from term 4 to term 5, you would add 6. So therefore term 5 would be 26 for 4.1.2, and for 4.1.3, term 6 would be, you would add 6 to 26, and that would be 32. Then we have to write the row in words. Okay, so if you look at term 1, we started with 2, and we add 6 every term, and that is it. Okay, for the general term, it is slightly trickier. Okay, it says Tn is equal to Dn plus C. You should know this formula, or you should be familiar with. Okay, and D would be the difference. The difference is plus 6. So we would have Tn equals to 6n plus C. Then we need to find C. Okay, and we can do C on the side. C would be equal to T1 minus the difference. Okay, T1 is the first term, which is 2, and the difference is 6. So you're going to say 2 minus 6 is equal to minus 4. That is C. Then we have Tn is equal to 6n minus 4, and that is your general term. 4.4 wants us to use the above table to plot the line graph in the space provided. I'll just use my pen and zoom in to the question paper. So term 1 had 2 dots. So you're going to go to term 1 in the center, and we're going to go to number 2 and make a line over there, or dot on the second line. Okay, and then in term 2 there were 8 dots. We're going to go to term 2, and we're going to go to the 8th line in there and make a dot in the center. And term 3 had 14 dots, so we're going to go to 14 all the way in line, make sure that you are perfectly in line over there, and make a dot. And for term 4, it is 20. 20 is right at the top. I'm going to make my dot over there, and you need to make sure that you always end off your line graph by drawing the line like that, connecting all the dots. And if it is a line graph, most likely you're only working with straight line graphs for now, and that would be that straight line over there, and you are done. Okay, question 5, the last question, will be algebra, or it is algebra, and then you are given the expression. Okay, and the expression is 9y to the power 4 plus 3y to the power 3 minus 5y squared plus y minus 6. The first question asks us, how many terms are there in the expression? We know that the plus and the minus separates terms, and these are all unlike terms because the exponent is different. Okay, and that doesn't have a y as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms in the expression. Okay, write down the coefficient of y to the power of 3. You're going to go to the number y to the power of 3, or to the letter y to the power of 3, and you're going to look at what is standing in front of that. That would be the coefficient. The coefficient of y to the power of 3 is that 3, not this 3, that 3 in front. If there was a 4 in front there, the coefficient would have been 4. Write down the value of the constant term for 5.1.3. The constant term is always the number without a letter, and the number without a letter is minus 6, not just 6, minus 6 is the constant term. And 5.1.4, write down the degree of this expression. You're going to look at the highest there, and that's the 4th degree. Okay, the highest exponent there is the 4th degree. For our next question, calculate the value of the expression if y is equal to minus 1. Now we know that this is an expression with the letter y. Now that we do know what is existing in this letter y, we have to replace all of these y's with minus 1 inside brackets. So we're going to start 9, we're going to put brackets, minus 1, close brackets, 4, plus 3, brackets, minus 1 to the power of 3, minus 5, brackets, minus 1, squared, and then plus minus 1, minus 6. So wherever y was, we replaced the y with minus 1. Okay, then we're going to have 9 brackets. What is minus 1 to the power of 4? That's saying minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1. So minus 1 times itself 4 times. So let's go. Minus 1 times minus 1 is 1, times minus 1 is negative 1, times minus 1 is positive 1. We have brackets, 1 there, plus 3 brackets in there again. Minus 1 times itself 3 times. Minus 1 times minus 1 is 1, times minus 1 is minus 1 in brackets there. Minus 5 brackets, minus 1 squared. So that says minus 1 times minus 1, that's 1. And then plus minus 1 is minus 1 minus 6. Okay, if a number is outside the bracket, we multiply. So 9 times 1 is 9, right? And plus 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. Minus 5 times 1 is minus 5. We have minus 1, minus 6. Okay, it's quite lengthy. 9 minus 3 is 6. Minus 5 is 1. Minus 1 is 0. And the final answer is minus 6. You do have to show these steps. You cannot just put this into a calculator. However, you can put it into a calculator to check if that is the correct answer. Okay, then in 5.2, it says add 4x squared plus 3x minus 2 to x squared minus 5x plus 3. Again, we are adding two expressions, so what we do when we're adding two expressions, we're going to put the like terms together. So this simply says add this to this, so I'm going to change this to a positive sign, and then I'm going to put my like terms together. So it's 4x squared, like terms is plus x squared, then we have plus 3x is a like term with minus 5x, and we have minus 2, which is a like term with plus 3. This gives us 5x squared. These are like terms. These are like terms as well. They give us minus 2x, and that gives us plus 1. We stop here because there are no like terms. The exponent is different. There's no x. Okay. Now we are working to subtract two expressions. That is going to work differently. Okay. So when we're subtracting two expressions, firstly, we're going to start with what it says after from. So you're going to start with 5a minus 3b plus 6c. Then you're going to put a subtraction sign and the first expression in brackets. So it's 2a minus 7b plus 4c. Okay. You need to make sure that this method is working different to adding expressions. Okay, then we're going to bring this down again. We're going to have 5a minus 3b plus 6c. That minus outside the bracket is going to change each and every sign inside the bracket. So we're going to have, instead of 2a, it's going to be minus 2a. That's going to be plus 7b now, and that's now going to be minus 4c. We're going to group our like terms together. We have 5a with minus 2a. We have minus 3b with plus 7b. And we have plus 6c minus 4c. These like terms give us 3a minus 3b plus 7b gives us plus 4b, and 6c minus 4c gives us plus 2c, and we stop there because these are not like terms, because the letters are different. Okay, let's have a look at the last simplification of expressions, the last three. Here we have 5x outside of brackets, and when we have something outside of brackets, we need to multiply that 5x into every single term that's inside the brackets. So let's look at the first one. We're going to say 5x times 2x, that gives us 10x squared. When we multiply there, we added those exponents over there. When we multiply the 5 and the 2 to give us 10. Then we have 5x times minus 4y. Again, we're going to multiply the numbers. 5 times minus 4 is minus 20. And when it comes to multiplication, if it's unlike terms or different letters, we simply put those letters next to each other. Then we have 5x times 9. That gives us 45. And the x simply comes along. These are unlike terms, so we end over here. Okay, now we have three different terms divided by 7. When we have three unlike terms divided by a single letter, what we're simply going to do is we're going to divide each one of it separately. So we're going to have each one divided separately by 7. Okay, and since it's only a number that is being divided, we can only divide these numbers. So 21 divided by 7 is 3, and that k squared comes down. Don't forget the k squared. Plus, okay, 28 divided by 7 is 4, and the k comes down as well. Why is the k coming down? Because there's no letter that's dividing, so the k just comes along every time. And then the last term, minus 14 divided by 7 gives us minus 2, and that's our final answer because there are no like terms, so you stop there. Now in 5.2.5 we have this over here. That exponent goes to every letter, every number there outside the bracket. So essentially this is saying minus 3 to the power of 3. Let me just write this down there, minus 3 to the power of 3. And it's also m to the power of 3, and also n to the power of 4 to the power of 3. That's what that means there, when it is an exponent outside of bracket. Okay. Then when we have minus 3 to the power of 3, that means minus 3 times minus 3, which is 9, times minus 3, which is minus 27. M to the power of 3 is simply m to the power of 3, but where it changes is when there is an exponent and in brackets an exponent also. So when it's double exponents, you multiply. So then it's going to be n to the power of 12, because 4 times 3 is 12, and you stop your expression right there. Okay, in question 5.3, we need to solve for x in the following equations. Now at the moment we see the words solve for x, you need to think about inverse operations that you're going to be applying right through. So x to the power of 3 equals to 125. You need to perform an inverse operation because of that. To the power of 3. If it was x squared equals 125, you would have square rooted. But because now this is a 3, what we do is we cube root this 125. Okay, so in your calculators, you'll press shift cube root and you'll put in 125 is equals to, is equal to 5. Okay, so you know the answer is 5. Also, what that means too for 125 is that what times what times what gives you 125. So what you can try to do is you can say 2 times 2 times 2. So it doesn't give you 125, so it's not 2. You try 4 times 4 times 4, doesn't give you 125, and 5 times 5 times 5 equals to 125. That's how you know it's the cube root of 125 is 5, because you multiplied 5 by itself 3 times just to double check over there. Okay, so then simply x would be equal to 5 after applying the cube root to 125. In 5.3.2, we have minus 10 equals to x divided by 2. Keyword x is divided by 2. We apply the inverse, and we're going to say multiply by 2 on both sides, and that will cancel. Minus 10 times 2 would be minus 20 is equal to x, or x is equal to minus 20, which is the same thing. Okay, then for the last question, we have a number outside the bracket that tells us we're going to now multiply the number outside the bracket with each and every term inside the bracket. So 3 times x is simply 3x. 3 times 1 is simply 3. That's equal to 19 minus x. Now we're going to put all our x's to one side. We normally choose the left hand side. So we're going to have 3x, and we're going to have the inverse of minus x on the side. It's going to be plus x, and the 3 will go over. There's going to be 19. The inverse is minus 3. That will give us 4x, because these are like terms, is equal to 16. Right? And finally, to find x, that says 4 times x equals 16. So because it says 4 times, I'm now going to divide by 4, because I'm doing the inverse, remember, and x is equal to 4. Thank you for watching. I did go a bit fast over this video, but that's assuming you've done your revision and you've learned all these topics beforehand. Okay, thank you.